Hi, I'm Bet from Bet's Makes, and today we're going to make a holiday card, and I'll show you exactly what we're going to make today. This is so adorable. I really hope you're going to enjoy this project because it folds down, so you see our snowman front and back as well, and then we open it up and it's this beautiful card. So I'm going to tell you exactly what we need to make this, and it is not as difficult as you think. So first we want to take a look at the materials we want, and of course you need a piece of cardstock, and that's for the frame of the card itself. You're going to need some other colors of cardstock as well because you're going to make these snowmen, and of course you need a black, a white, an orange, and even a brown. I didn't mention the brown here, but you do need a brown, and you can use other colors as well. Now you're going to need 2 lengths of ribbon, and the ribbon is going to be for making these gorgeous little scarves on the snowmen, and about 12 inches will do to make that work for you. And a gel pen, and the gel pen is used for writing on the greeting in your card, and that will be done automatically with your Cricut machine. And of course you need some glue to put everything together, and a burnishing tool to make sure your folds are just perfect, and a weeding tool to get things off the mat, make sure things work well for you, your Cricut or another cutting machine, and then finally you're going to need my template from betsmakes.com/library. It will be there for you when you're ready to do your project. And one last thing before we go and get started, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, let's get going on this project. Hi, just before we get into Design Space, I just want to go over some of the materials we're going to need to create this project. And today we're making this swing card that looks like this. And these are done in what we call pages. So this would be a page, this would be a page. So there's 4 pages to this one. So we're going to need various pieces of paper. We obviously need some for the snowman, which you see here, the snowflake, the carrot nose. You're also going to need a color for the arms, and a background color for what you're going to use for the card itself. You will need a pen in order to do these pieces. So you'll have the oval and you will have your Cricut do the writing. In this case I put Merry Christmas. You're going to need all of these different pieces of paper. So we have the brown for the arms. I'm going to use gold for the snowflakes this time, black for the hat and the eyes, orange for the nose, white for the snowman. And then I have 2 pieces of ribbon here that we can use to tie a scarf around the snowman. I just did the one on the front and the back. If I pull this back, you see the one on the back has a tartan orange and the one on the front has a red and gold. So we need those, and then of course the card itself. And instead of red, I've decided on a polka dot pattern, and I'm using 2-sided paper. And the reason I'm using 2-sided paper is because the card at the front, you see it on the inside, but when you close this up, you see them on this side as well. So we're going to have 2 colors. Mine has a stripe on the back, so it's a stripy Christmas, and then these will be on the inside. And of course you need a pair of scissors, some weeding tools, some transfer tape, use a burnishing tool, some glue, and this is a 2-sided tape. I might be using that as well. And this is generally what you're going to need to get going on this project. So now let's go over to Design Space and let's create our project, because you're also going to need a template from my resource library. Here we are in Design Space with a new project. So first thing we need to do is we need to upload our template to make this folding card. So I'll click on Upload, then Upload Image, Browse. It will go into my Illustrator, and I called it Folding Card. And there we are, Folding Card 01 SVG. Select it. Let's open it. And that looks like all the pieces I want. I'm just going to leave the same name, Folding Card, and we'll click on Save. And there we have it. Now all I need to do is click on it and insert images. And of course, the first thing that happens when you insert an image, everything comes out black. I'm simply going to come up here to the line type, change the black color. I always go for yellow so I can see what's going on. The other thing is we need to do some adjustments here. So I'm going to come over here under layers and I am going to ungroup. And that will give me the ability to move some things around. Well, you see the word Merry Christmas and the backing. And on our card, we had it written. So I'm looking at the Merry Christmas here. And if I come up to the line type, I see it's set to cut. So what we want to do is change that to draw. And then finally, I want to group these two together because I want it written on it. But before I do that, I want to make sure my alignment is correct. So we're going to center them horizontally and come back to a line, and we're going to center vertically, and that looks perfect. And now we're going to attach those two together. So now we have our little name tag is all fixed, and it's only going to be one piece, and we know that it's going to write on it, and from there we don't have to really worry about too much of it anymore. So now we want to take care of the snowmen that are going to be on the card, and we've created 3. Well, I have 3 of the heads already, and they're slightly different from each other. Actually, yep, they're all a little bit different. But now we're going to need 3 backings, and you'll notice I only have 1 backing selected, so all I need to do is duplicate this a couple of times. So let's make 2 more copies so I have a backing for each one. I'm just going to place them together this way to make sure I've got everything. And hiding behind here is the snowman body. Well, obviously I need 2 more of those, so we'll just duplicate a couple of times here. So we've got the head with the backing and the body, and we're going to need 3 sets of arms. So I'm going to select these together, and I'm just going to move them up, and I'm going to duplicate them twice, and that gives me all the arms we need for the snowman. You notice I'm just lining things up a little bit here. We'll make some changes later. Well, we're going to need 3 hats, 3 hat bands, and 3 noses. Now, the easy way for this is I'm going to select all 3 of them this time. Get all 3, and I only have to duplicate twice. And I could have done it with the other ones, but we did not at this point. So now we have the snowflake, and I want 6 of these. So we'll just hit duplicate 5 times, and we'll get 6 of these. 4, 5, 6. Next is our frame, and we're only going to need 2 of these in the project. So I'm going to duplicate that as well. So that's looking pretty good. Now this is an interesting one. Wondering if this is going to be just a cutout. That should work just fine. Now we've got all the embellishment parts put together. It is time to start dealing with the card itself. Now you'll notice that we have an extra line here. If I click on this line, you'll notice that it's separate. And this line is set to cut, but we actually want it to be a score line. So all I need to do is come up to line type, change it to score, and the same with the next line over here. I want to change it to score. Now if you're having trouble putting those 2 things together, it is probably because they're still grouped in some way. Now I want to make sure that this all stays together as a card. That means I have selected them all. I can move them over. I am going to come up here to layers. I'm just going to group them for the time being so I can move them together. And if I want them to work together when I get over to using my Cricut machine, then I'm going to have to do something else to it. I'm going to have to attach it. But I notice I have a little line here that decided it wanted to move away. So I'm going to bring it back over here, and it looks like it went to the back. So we'll just go to arrange, and we will send it to the front. That is a cut line that is necessary, so I'm just going to attach it back over here. Make sure everything stays together, select it all. I'm going to attach it so it moves as one piece. Okay, now the same thing over here. I'm just going to select, whoop, too much. Select everything here, and I am going to attach. I'm actually going to group it, and then I'm going to attach it to make sure everything stays the same. Now it's time to put the pages together for our card, and we're going to need 4 pages. Page 1, which will look like this. Page 2, which will look like this with a couple of tabs. Whoop. Wants to move out of my way. Page 2. I'm going to need another one of these for page 3, so I'll just simply duplicate. And then we're going to need a page 4, which is the end one. Now you could keep going in this manner, 1, 2, 3, and then back and just repeating 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, and you can have it as many folds as you want. But we only want 4 pages, so the last page is not going to connect to anything, so we're going to have to cut off the back piece. So I want to duplicate this piece, and then we're just going to have to do a little work on this. I want to cut off from the score line over. So if we take all of this and weld it together, which we will do later, right now it's just attached, then we can cut off the one extra piece. But I want to leave the score line there for the moment, just so I can use it for a lineup. But I am going to detach, so it's 2 different pieces, and then I can move the score line out. In order to cut off the end piece, we're going to be using the slice tool. So I'm going to need a shape, and I'm going to use a square, and I know the square went way up here. Just going to bring it down. Now I don't have to make many changes, but I just want to line it up in the right place, and then all I need to do is I just can bring it down. Now, because we don't need the score line anymore, I'm going to click on the major one. I'm going to ungroup it, and I am going to take away that score line. So I'm just going to delete it. Now with the square, all I need now is just to bring it down so it covers the area. I'm going to select the 2 of them together, and it looks like I have more than one piece here. So all I need to do is select the frame and the square, and it's not coming up, but I think it's because I have this extra piece in here. So let me just select this, and this is a group. I'm going to actually ungroup it again and just see if I can select this piece and this piece, and it's still not giving it to me. Okay, this one, ungroup again. Okay, let's go for this piece and this piece. It's acting slowly here. Oh, my computer is having a fit. Okay, I'm going to select just these 2 pieces, and I finally get slices because we had the one extra piece in place. So let's slice it. Let's get rid of that square. Let's get rid of this, get rid of this, and now we have it the size that we want it. Now this is up front, and the little pieces that we had in behind are not showing. So what we want to do is arrange and send this to the back. My other 2 little pieces will now appear. So now we are going to select it all together. I'm going to group it, and I am going to attach it. So now we have our 4th page, and this is the ending one, and we don't need the extra piece. You could have cut it off by the scissors after we had done it. Now I'm going to be using 1 mat for all the top pieces and 1 mat for... Okay, let's get rid of the Mary way over here. Let's select all of this, which says it's yellow, and I'm going to change it to green. This is so it all goes on 1 mat. Now I'm going to select this guy, and it says multiple, and it's because of the writing, but I'll move it onto the same mat when we get to make it. So everything is looking good here. I don't think we have any extra pieces to worry about. I'm just selecting through here. We've got cuts now. I see there's a couple little extra little cut things that I'm just going to turn them off. I don't think they have an effect on anything. I don't see it. And I see some extra little dots here. Now these are sometimes artifacts that come through. And it doesn't look like we're losing anything. And those cuts we need. I just try to get rid of any artifacts. And I will delete them. But after we've done the cut, just because I want to make sure they don't affect something that we're going to be making. Oh. Okay, I'm going to leave that one on, turn that one off, turn that one off. If I turn that one off, I don't see anything. Okay, these ones are all okay. These are artifacts. And it doesn't matter what SVG, sometimes artifacts do come through that you're not counting on. Now everything else looks pretty good. So now we're going to save our project, and I'm just going to call this holiday card. And I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to make it. I'm sorting everything into mats, which is perfect. Look at this. We've got, this is going to be on a nice polka dot silver paper, double-sided that I have. So mat 1 looks good. Mat 2. Now, I don't really want this on a mat by itself. I want it on the other mat. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click the ellipse here, and I'm going to move it to another mat, and I'm going to move it to this green mat and confirm it. I know it went in behind here, so we're just going to move it out of the way. Now this is going to be in white with writing, and these are all going to be white. So now we're going to divide all of this into the colors. So we have white, and all the white different things that we have down here. Here's the third head, and these are black, these are brown, here's some white ones. So I'm just going to move them all down to the bottom, everything that's white. And you're going to see how this works when we go to put it on the mat, because all I'm going to do is cut out paper and then put it on the mat so it fits these areas. Okay, we know that these bodies are also white. The hat bands are white. Now we have noses. Now this is interesting. This is cutting these separate from this. So it's actually supposed to cut. So in order to just keep what I'm doing here, I'm going to place them right on top of each other so that it will cut that way, because it looks like I forgot to attach them. But this is a way you can get around that if something happens. And I've got 3 little carrot noses here. Place them over here so I know that they're at the edge, and then I've got my brown arms and my black. So I'm going to put the black pieces up, 3 backs of the heads, and I've got 3 hats. Now these are all arms, so I think I will just move them down a bit. Actually, what I want to do is just move these down so they're out of the way of the other piece, because when I go to use the paper to put these on, because these arms will be brown, the hats will be black, the carrots will be orange, and these will be white as well. Okay, so we've got more white pieces, so I'm just going to take these down here to the white, put it together this way. This one over a little bit. Looks pretty centered. Move this over just a tiny bit. try and center those. It's better to attach it, but if you didn't and you don't want to ruin what you've been working on. So this bottom half from about the 5.5 inch mark down was all going to be white. I'm going to place the black ones now at the top. I'll just line them up this way. Doesn't have to be perfect. So I know I'm going to need a black piece, 1 inch, say to 9 inches and 2 inches deep, that I will place here. The carrot noses, I only need 1 inch by, I usually do about 2, nice square. For the arms now, I am going from 3 inches down to 5.5, so I want to make sure I place the paper there, and then from 5.5 I can go all the way over to 12 and down for the remainder of it. So what I do before I hit continue, I generally get my mat out and place all of the colors on my mat ahead of time, so then when I go to hit continue, then it's easier. So I'm going to pull a mat, and then I'm going to add my pieces, and it's going to be a lot easier when I do it this way. Now all we need to do is go over to continue. So now that I have finished cutting on my Cricut, you'll notice this is how I had arranged the paper in order to do the cutting, and you'll notice that I had a little difficulty with my snowflakes here where it kept peeling up from the cardstock. Well, I did cut a few more, and what it was is that my blade wasn't sharp enough in order to do the small cuts. So what you can do in that case is take a ball of aluminum foil, depress the button just slightly, and start stabbing it about 50 different times, and that will sharpen the blade. When I did it the next time, I cut it out of gold paper, and you'll see that these ones turned out just fine. So that's all it takes sometimes when you have that issue. So what we need to do now is just weed all of this out and then put it into some piles. So I will go ahead and do that, and we'll be right back. Well, here we are. All the pieces are now in place. I've taken them off the mat. I redid my snowflakes, and I used intricate cut for my cardstock just to make sure that they cut properly, and they turned out beautifully. I do have some extra gold ones that I can use. I have my frames, and then of course I have all the pieces for my snowmen. I have my greeting, and then I have the 4 pages, and then I have a couple of pieces of ribbon that I can use to make scarves around the snowmen. Well, I'll only do 2. So our first part of our process now is to put together the card pieces. Now, we know that this front page is going to open this way. So this will be the very front. It'll open to this, and it'll attach to this. So what I'm going to need here is a fold that goes up, and I'm going to use my burnishing tool because you have to kind of train exactly how these are going together. Just grab this one. We're going to glue this here. Now this one, because it's going to fold up, we're going to have to turn it over and catch it right on that line. Sometimes it just doesn't want to bend the way you want it to. There we go. That's going to go this way. This one will attach to the top of this one. This is page 1. You notice page 2 has the 2 little tabs on it. Page 3, as we mentioned before, is exactly the same as this first one. So we're going to bend this one in. And then of course the last one has nothing on it. So our first job is to glue these frames together so that we have a complete card. And then we're going to start decorating. And then finally we're going to train our card how to fold back and forth. So let's start by gluing this. For this glue today I'm going to use the Tombow Mono glue because I want something pretty fast drying. So I'm just going to put a little bead down the side here. Just bring it down. There we go. Just attach that. And it will dry clear, so don't worry if you get a little bit extra. Get it to dry in place. And now we're going to put the bead of glue here because we're going to put this back side together. That's pretty well stuck together now. That's excellent. Let's just slide it up a tiny bit. I'm going to match it as closely as possible. Don't need much glue, just enough to hold everything in place. So now we're going to attach it this way. You could glue it underneath if you wanted to, but I find with the folds, it's easier to put it on top for the next one. Almost there with that one. There we go. And then again, we're going to put the glue on this piece and glue that piece together, and then we have the card ready, and then we can put on our embellishments and our decorations. Not too much. Hopefully we'll hold everything in place. Just put the cap back on. Glue. Put this one on top as well. Good, pretty straight. I'm sticking to it as well, so we know the glue is good. Now we have a card that will fold in and out, but we haven't made these pieces connect like we did on the other piece, so it comes in and out like this. We will be doing that next, but we want to make sure that we fold these so that they will close. You're basically training your card to open and close. Make sure everything works in that direction. Okay, your next job is to start decorating on top of here. So we want our greeting to be on the third panel. So we're going to glue this in place here. Then we're going to assemble some snowmen, and we're going to put 1 snowman, 2 snowmen, 3 snowmen. So I'll be right back. I'll put the snowmen together, and this is how we're going to do it. Here is we're going to start with the head. And what you're going to do is glue the back part of the head to here, so you get the black coming through. And then we're going to attach the headband to the hat. Okay, now what I want to do, I think I'm going to start by just putting a little bit of glue on my head. You don't need very much. Just enough to stick it on so black shows through. That looks like plenty. Try not to get it on myself. We'll line it up the circle behind. Looks pretty good. Now we're going to glue the headband on. A little tiny bit. See the hair? Headband goes on that way. It doesn't have to be exactly right. Now I'm just going to put a little dab of glue on the head. And I will put the top hat on. Now you can angle the top hat for each snowman so it's slightly different. So in this case I'll have it just slightly over the edge. There we go. just that my hands are sticky too, and that's the hardest part. Okay, that looks pretty good. I got a little extra glue here. Let's see if I can add that. There we go. Try to keep the glue off yourself. It's really tough. So just a little dab in the center, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a nose. Now when I add the nose, it can go in many different directions. So this one I'm going to point over in this direction. Place it there. There we go. And now I'm going to glue the head onto the body. So just going to put a little dab on the body. Perfect. I'm going to tap it down here with my weeding tool. Just make sure it stays in place. And then of course you have to decide how you want the arms to go. So in this case, I want to have one arm come across the stomach. So I'm just going to add a little glue. At the top. Take our little piece. And have it come down across the body. And then the next arm, I want to have come up this way. I'm going to have to put some glue down at the bottom. There we go. It wants to stick to me. Just hold it into place. Perfect. So we have one snowman. We're going to put the other ones together, and then I'll come right back and show you how to put the scarf on. Okay, now I've put the snowman together. I've actually glued one on this page. I glued on our greeting. And now we're going to put scarves on these two. One for the back page and one for the front. Now all you need to do here is cut a little slit on both sides. One here. And one here, and do the same for the other one, and because we need that slit in order for the ribbon to act as the scarf can come through from the other side. So I'm just going to put the ribbon through the slits. A little tough to navigate it, but you get them through. And that's going to secure it in place. Now all you need to do here, just move this out of the way, is tie a knot. Just a nice simple one for the scarf. Decide which direction you want to have the edges flow. I try to not tie it too high because it is from the slit. I'm going to put in an extra piece here. Just hold it in place. And then in order to secure it in one location, of course, you're going to have to add a little glue. So I'll just use some of my Tombow glue here, just so it stays into place. Just a small amount. Just going to hold it down for a few seconds. And then we will glue this guy on the back here. Now we're going to do the same thing. I've cut the slits ahead of time. This time we're going to use a plaid one, orange plaid, but it's a little thicker, but it shouldn't make any difference. You just have to weed it through, get it into the slit that you've created. There we go. I'm going to fold it over a little bit because it's so wide. Then back through the next slit. And just like before, you're just going to tie it. You can play with the lengths too. If you don't like how long one is, and you want to make it a little shorter or a little longer, you can do so. I don't want it up over his face, so let's pull it down. It always looks simple when other people do it, but when you go to do it for yourself, just make sure you get this tucked down underneath. And once you do that, it's not so bad. I may only put one here. Actually, I might put a second knot just to hold it into place. And this type of ribbon that I have actually frays on the end, so that can have a really cool effect. So there's our second scarf. Now I'm going to pull them down so that both pieces come down like this for the scarf, and then I am going to trim them off because they're a bit long. Make this one shorter. There we go. And I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue in underneath. And that's just to hold it into place. Just take a second or two until it takes hold. Just going to hold it in place. And this will be the snowman that goes on the edge over here. Now it's still sticking to me, so just hold it down here. I'm just going to hold it into place. Now we're going to finish decorating by adding our snowflakes like I did here. I had cut some out in gold as well just to match the card. We'll add some snowflakes, and I'll teach you how to train these card pieces to turn, and then also how to put those together. So we'll be right back. Okay, we're on the last stages here, and now it's a matter of training the card to fold the way you want it to. As you can see, the one I made before, it's trained to fold any which way I want it. So now we have to train our new card how we want it to fold. Now the first thing is you want to take each one of these and twist it so it goes to the back. Now there are some slits here, top and bottom. Now just be careful you don't rip the top of you just want to train it to go back and forth easily. Now this last one you don't have to worry too much about, but you do have to get it to connect with this other one at the front. So we're going to give it a little bit of a twist as well. Just at where we had, there we go. Now it's trained, we have to connect the dots together. If you take a look at this other one we have done, we connected page 4 and 3 with our frame and page 1 and 2, and the connection between these two in the middle are the two tabs that we had cut. So we're going to start with the two frames that we have, and I'm going to put the thick part at the top. All I want to do is fold it in half, and I'm going to use my tool here, give it a little burnish. Same thing with the next one, just fold it in half. Now what we want to be able to do is we want to attach this frame from here to here, so that when the card opens it comes up in this direction. So we're going to attach this one to this one, and the same thing at the back on page 3 and 4 we want to attach these two pieces. So we're going to start by playing with our glue, adding a little glue. I'm having trouble with this glue for some reason. It just doesn't want to come out when I want it to, and it comes out greatly when I don't. Okay, so I'm going to have to pick up through here, and I'm going to place the frame just so it is on the edge of the card piece here, but I want it to be even with the next card piece, so I just have to make sure when I add it to the next piece I do the same thing. And I'm trying to keep it at the same level. It's not as easy as it looks. So you want it fairly straight. And it doesn't matter if you have an embellishment on the other side, because this is going to come out. Maybe if I do it this way, I might be able to hold it down a little better. Now that looks pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing down this end, I'm going to add my glue. Don't need a lot. Do need to hold it in place. Down for now. Okay, just going off the edge here. Hold it into place. Then I'm going to pull the next one up and slide it into place. Pulling it down. I want them to be fairly secure. Sliding off. That's why I'm using this Tombow glue, because I want things to dry fairly quickly. Now we have the first two pieces look really good. What we need to do now is work on these two, if you can see them in behind. These tabs are going to go underneath this next piece. So I want to add the glue to the tabs. So I'm going to make sure it sticks. There we go. Now the hard part is getting this underneath. I don't know if you can see this. We are going to attach it. Evened. Don't worry about bending the tabs quite yet. I want to attach them first. I'm just going to let this dry for a minute or two, and then we're going to be able to use our card just like it was in our example. Just close up my glue here. So when they dry, you can see that I can move these and close it the way I want it. So that's exactly, if you can see from top, where the tabs are behind and the frames are here and the other pieces are sticking out. Well, we're going to do the same thing here. The only thing I haven't done now is bend this. So what we have to do is just bend these in place now that they're glued. Make sure everything's stuck into place. And there we are. We have our folding card. It just looks amazing. So we'll set it up this way. Some of my glue is not quite dry. It's still fairly sticky, so I don't want to touch it too much. So now we've folded our card, we've trained these, we've added our frames, we've glued the pieces together. Now we should be able to just shut our card, just like this. And you can see this is the front, this is the back, and when you open it up, you have all this beautiful design. So now we've made our first folding swing card, and it is beautiful. And it goes nicely with the red one I made before. This one just happens to have a double-sided paper, so it's a little thicker. And you can see I have the stripes on the back side. I could decorate the back side as well, but here we go, this beautiful folding card. And it's trained well enough. So if you're worried about areas maybe ripping in the future, that we are not. It is just folded on these areas. You can always put a reinforcement on the back here, and that will take care of any problem you might have. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and I will see you in the next video. Well, I really hope you enjoyed making this card. It was so much fun with all the little embellishments, the snowmen, the snowflakes, attaching the frames to the center and a little bit at the back using a two-sided paper. This was such a great project. The only problem I had is the glue kept sticking to me rather than to the card. But other than that, this is a gorgeous, complicated looking card that's very easy to put together. So I truly hope you enjoyed this card project. Now, one last thing before you go. Let's subscribe to my YouTube channel, and happy crafting.